What's up, guys? How you doing? Today we got a short little video that's going to go over some of the gearing aspects that I'm going to recommend to many of you to getting prepped for the next upcoming update. We have a new update this week called Update 46.1. It's going to have two 6-mans and a 3-man. And so those particular instances, there's a lot of excitement around it because that's the first instances and dungeons that we have at 160. So that's going to be kind of really excitement around that. You see a lot of people running that in game. And this video is simply put just to get you prepped on your gear and your jewelry and your legendary weapons so you don't feel like you are behind when you're running this content because of your gear, right? We're going to try to set you up really nice and get you well informed on what you can do. Even if it is one of your alts, you might need to bring them up to a level that is comparable to some of your mains. This is the video that we're going to kind of break all that down on a general aspect of things. We'll have some specifics that we will go over, but moreover, we're just going to focus on how we can get you from a level 150 geared 160 to a subpar 160 that's able to go into the tier 1, tier 2 content that's upcoming this week. So appreciate everybody for kind of tuning into the video. Hopefully you guys stay to the end, and I hope you guys are in my groups later on this week when we're jumping into the instances. So all right, guys. So the first thing we're going to cover is legendary weapons. They're kind of the backbone of the character, and we want to make sure that we're in the right spot in all of the traceries and make sure that we're on the right path, because that's going to be where a good chunk of our stats and the rest of our power really comes from. So the first thing that we want to make sure we do when we start the update this week, make sure the first thing you do is run over to your legendary Reforge guy, where you're going to be going over to 560. So your items are going to be slotted in here. Just make sure that you hit that Reforge button to take it up to 560. That's going to allow you to build up your enhancement runes a little bit further on the traceries and whatnot, and get you in a good spot for just a little bit of extra stats overall. The second thing that we're going to cover real quick is going to be the heraldries. So the heraldries for many of our characters, if you're like me, on a lot of my alts, I had the heraldry, the unbarred heraldries, if you would, that had this particular set bonus or a set bonus in general on them. This is going to be one of the easiest things for you to get additional stats. Very something you can certainly overlook is if you look here on the set the texture, it does say faded grand armor bonus. So even though this is green and flashy and does look like it is affecting the character, it in fact, because it is faded, caps at 150 and does not affect the character. So though you may be getting the stats from this heraldry, you're certainly not getting the set bonus itself. So the first thing you want to do for something like this, you want to come over here, you want to grab even purple heraldries will be in a better shape than your gold tier 15s. So purple 16s are going to be better. I personally have a lot of the shattered tracery tokens right now, so I'm going to be grabbing one of those teal ox ones real quick. I'm going to bring it over and slide it right on top, and it's going to already boost up the stats a little bit just like that. You're not getting a set bonus, unfortunately. We'll have to wait for that until a later update, but at the very least my stats just kind of naturally go up from there, and I can also drag in some enhancement runes and gear up even further for the heraldry side of things. You want to do that for both of your weapons, both your weapon and your class item, or whichever it may be, and make sure that that's a great way to kind of just get that easy stats just from heraldries alone, and kind of release the attachment you might have had to those gold 15s. In that same kind of breath, we also want to take a look at the words of craft. You can see down here on the same weapon I'm having, I had a grand willpower on this, on both of these to get tactical mitigation, but you can see in the same spot, faded grand willpower cap of 150. So even though I had some pretty solid grand willpower set bonuses here, none of this is affecting my character anymore. So same thing, just like with the heraldry, we're going to come over here, we're going to grab the incomparables because I had the tokens for it. It's on the other tab here. And I'm going to grab 2 grand willpowers, 1, 2, and we are going to slot these bad boys in. So I'm going to take a look real quick just to make sure it works. We have 52.6% in that tactical mitigation era, right? We're going to slot 1 and slot 2. We're going to get a nice fancy animation. Boom. And then I hover it again. I have 54.8%. So not only did my tactical mitigation just go up naturally from getting these increased just from going to 16s. The set bonus finally kicked in for that 1.5%, and it definitely gave me a little bit more of a boost on the mitigation side. Now, when it comes to the words of power traceries, guys, there's not a whole lot of information we can really throw in here in a short video like this to cover everything. Uh, the best thing that I'm going to end up saying here is just to say, let's, make sure that when you have your traceries pulled up for your particular line, that they just make sense with what you're going with. Obviously, what I have on mine, I'm running my tank spec here, and all of my traceries for the words of power for the captain, all of mine is all about outgoing healing and enhancing my tank cooldowns or tank stances, essentially. So as long as you're in the right ballpark with the words of power, even if you're running purple traceries that are at tier 16, the stats from those tier 16 traceries will be enough to push you into the next tier. I would say don't even worry about getting gold traceries right now, because they will come more frequently as these instances drop. It's more important that you just get in the right direction with your traceries at the purple level, so then you can move upward from there. If you have a particular class that you're looking into and you just don't know exactly what it is or where even to start, if you want to just drop a comment down below, I can certainly point in the right direction, or we can make a video on it later. But the words of power, just make sure that you're headed in the right direction more than anything else. Now, all of that being said, where do we get these traceries? Where do we get these enhancement runes? How do we even get the ball rolling here with these tokens? One of the greatest ways you're going to do that is the reward track itself. You can kind of scroll through here with the Shift I being the default keybind. You can bring this up. You can kind of see there is lots of enhancement runes, traceries, embers, script, and everything in between the tokens, right? There's some virtue in here, I believe. Ultimately, there's a lot of good stuff in here from the levels 100 to 1 to 100. But when you get to the very end, you can see right here, it continues to overflow as well. You continue to gain experience. So I can just claim some of these and hit the box, purple tracery, coffer script, and yellow enhancement rune. Things of this nature always drop. That's a 600 ancient script right there. So you can get a lot of ancient script and a lot of enhancement runes simply by just doing whatever content you're comfortable with, and then checking in on this particular reward track, and then claiming these as frequently as you'd like. Alternatively, one of the best ways to get enhancement runes are going to be doing the missions here in Murgala. There's 5 missions at Adagim, at Kayan and Ansharu, and in Idagal at the 4 major cities. So those locations are also going to give you the yellow enhancement rune. The other alternative way is the PvP route. If you do any of the PvP quests in the Entmoors, you get the enhancement runes chest. This will give you 2 of the purple enhancement runes. So if you have any interest in PvP and wanted to run out there, do a couple quests in the meantime as well, this would also be an alternate method to kind of getting you in the nice spot with the enhancement runes. All right, so moving over into the gear side of things, I wanted to bring over the Brawler here because he is very diverse with the gear that he has. Again, this is never about best in slot, it's just about getting your stats to a good spot. So the gear that I've got working right now, we're just talking about the armor pieces and the class item right now. It could be acquired from a number of different ways. This guy's very diverse in how he's got his gear laid out. So the first thing I want to go over is landscape gear, such as the helmet here, is certainly something you can go with as you're questing through Murgala here. There's going to be plenty of quests that provide this purple type of gear. And if you can look at it here, it has vitality, might, and crit. Great stats to have for a DPS brawler like myself. So I'd certainly keep that on because that's in the right direction. It has a little bit lower of an item level, but in LOTRO, item level doesn't matter nearly as much as getting the right stats that you want on the piece of gear. So for landscape stuff, this isn't bad, and certainly you'll come across other pieces like this as well. One of the alternative methods to getting gear is something that involves a little bit more group content. Well, the 3 pieces I pulled up here are the it featured instance DPS set. So the Valiant Pauldrons, the Valiant Chestplate, Valiant Gauntlets. These are going to be 3 pieces that I have equipped that you can see they do have very offensive heavy stats, and they also provide an essence slot. You get that from doing the featured instance every week. This week, and at the time of recording, is the Blood of the Black Serpent. That'll rotate every Monday for you, depending on which server you're on. And these particular pieces drop out of that last box that you get when completing that instance, or have a chance to drop, rather. These are pretty good because they have a primary stat, vitality, and then these secondary stats of physical mastery and crit. You can see these are pretty solid, and they're always headed in the offensive direction. You never really get a piece that is throwaway in the offensive set. That is like evade rating or anything like that. There is an alternative set that is primarily built for tanking or defensive. So the enduring set here you can see has parry rating, has tactical mitigation, incoming healing. Those are kind of more in the lines of tanks and other things of that nature. So there's two different sets depending on what you're going for here. And featured instance gear is certainly going to be one of the ways that I'd recommend kind of getting at least a couple of pieces on your belt before jumping into the content. The other pieces of gear I wanted to bring up are going to be the crafted stuff here. So for this guy, I'm using the crafted cloak, and I'm also using a crafted class item. These are going to be alternative methods of getting gear. I know if you complete the book, you have the opportunity to get a teal cloak. I personally went with a tanking cloak for my tank set, but you only get one of the teal cloaks at the end. So I recommend kind of looking into a crafted cloak if you're not going to push through the story all the way, especially for your alts and things of that nature. Some of the crafted cloaks, like the one I have on screen here, is going to be one of the not half bad when it comes to the offensive stats of this particular DPS set. When it comes to class items, I think you have to have a crafted item of some sort. So for like belt buckles for the brawler, you have a 151 piece that just has 2 ingots and 2 garnets that are polished. And then the more advanced one that I have that does require a golden barrel, it's the same setup really. So you don't have too much that you have to invest when it comes to the crafting component. It is just the golden barrel that changes, and it definitely gives you a giant leap over the yellow common class item, if you would. But the crafted way to go is certainly a method to go with the gear as well. So certainly take a look into which pieces are worth it for you. I know many of the armor pieces only have one output. Not all of the stats are going to be relevant to what you're doing. So kind of pay attention to the stats that you have on those pieces. All right, and one of the alternative methods as well to getting gear is the Adventurer set. I'm currently running a piece of purple gear for that I have from earlier this level cap. The Adventurer set comes from the Embers vendor guy here at Anak Kurfu. He's also in Scarnhold and a couple other locations. He's got a couple of great things here, but for example, the armor itself is one of the methods that we can use to get gear here as well. Opening up this box, you can kind of see there is a good chunk of gear here throughout, and they're all good statted gear, good item level gear, as well as the teal kind of higher quality gear as well. Some pieces have 2 essences, others will just have the 1, but overall most of them will have an essence slot on them, and they're just like the featured instance gear. There's a defensive set, and then there's an offensive set as well. So the gear here can be purchased in 2,000 embers for the purple set or 3,500 for the teal set. So make sure you're kind of visiting this guy when you're picking up your embers overall, and you need to kind of find a new fill in the spots in your gear. This is what I would recommend for. All right, and last but not least, the delving gear is also an alternative way to get stuff as well. I'm using the pants right now because they're not terrible with the stats, and they also have a nice little essence slot here on them. Ultimately, as of this video and recording this, update 46 does not have delving gear that exceeds this common level right here. So this particular route for getting gear might be on the lower end of things, but if you're just doing delvings every week, you might come across some of these pieces naturally that might help kind of fill out that gear as being placeholders until you get featured instance, crafted, or embers gear. So just something to bring up here. If you're watching this video a couple months later, I know that we do anticipate the delving teal gear to be coming soon, specifically after the raid. For reference, it used to look like this stuff here. So this is what it kind of looked like back at 150. These teal pieces were really good, quite well in the stats department, as well as having a couple of slots on each of these pieces allows you to kind of customize the gear and stats of your character quite well. So be on the lookout for delving gear as well as you're kind of doing those missions throughout Middle-earth. All right, so moving into jewelry here, I did want to make it its own section, even though it's going to see a lot of overlap here from the normal gear. I wanted to bring this up because, again, it has some specifics in this particular expansion, and I'm pointing you in the right direction to get those specifics is what's important. But starting out, we still have really great landscape jewelry that's coming from the landscape of Murgala, so just kind of be on the lookout for there as you're doing questing. Don't disregard these purple pieces as you're getting them because they do have some pretty decent stats. Again, item level is going to be a little bit on the lower side, and you might not be able to equip flickering essences in these, but these will be nice stepping stone pieces that you would then replace once you get into the dungeons in update 46.1. Another alternative to get jewelry in this particular expansion is going to be the craft section as well. As you can see here, I am running like 3 pieces of crafted jewelry when it comes to my DPS spec. I did pull in my tank earring that I also have in my bag as well. All these pieces are really great pieces to start out with going into this, and it's not too hard to get these pieces. It is nothing more than just a golden barrel when you kind of come over here to the crafted section with the traditional pieces with ingots and polished garnets as well. So there's not a whole lot of investment when it comes to these, and when you get one of the reputations high enough, golden barrels you can barter for, so certainly is something where you want to kind of put in crafted pieces where you can because they're not too expensive. Again, back over here at Anak and possibly Starnhold or wherever you get your daily Ember stuff, guys. You also have the Embers jewelry box that you can purchase for Embers as well. So this is also going to have lots of opportunities for jewelry. This is also one of the places where I'd recommend getting, if you need it, a necklace or a pocket, because these are some great sections leading into the best in slot pocket or necklace in the meantime. The upcoming pocket and necklace do take a little bit of time to get, and so because of that, the adventurers jewelry is another alternative to jewelry to kind of get something like that. Doing the weeklies or any of the weeklies really that have embers as rewards will slowly get you to the embers needed to get you in that spot. All right, so this is where we're getting into a couple of specifics here. The necklace that I'm about to talk about is going to be the best in slot necklace. I know that we didn't really want to go over best in slot stuff, but I do think it's really important to bring this up because it is a very top tier necklace that has a necklace essence slot. You come over here to the Hunters Guild, and as you do these dailies, and a couple of them I have already, and the roving threat quests throughout the game, they are going to give you Hunter Guild marks for the roving threats, and also badges of valor for the Hunter quest as well. So as you gain reputation, you should naturally get these and do these every day. There's a group that just ran off, just did it a second ago. These groups will go throughout the day, so be on the lookout for them in LFF. These are also a great way to get flickering essence boxes as well, so that really helps quite a bit. But ultimately, there's 4 different types of necklaces here for you to get. There's going to be a tactical DPS, a physical DPS, a tanking, and a healing one. All of them are going to be the same price and just a couple of gold coins here, and then the hunter's marks and the badges of valor. Ultimately, the reputation is going to be the hardest gating factor here, but ultimately this is a necklace you want to strive for and acquire. The main reason is the necklace essence slot. While there isn't a necklace essence right now in update 46, there will be one upcoming, and it'd be kind of sad for you to get a necklace essence and not have a necklace to put it in. So I'm going to recommend that you grind out the Hunter Guild to make sure you do get the necklace here. That way you do have a nice necklace to put that into once you get that essence. Another one that is kind of specific is the rings themselves that come from landscape. So these teal rings, I've got a couple of them pulled up on the screen here. They all come, there should be 4 in total. The one I'm missing from the screen currently is the tactical one. The tactical one is going to come from Zajana and helping Mazadi there. All of these come from a long-winded kind of quest chain that you can start at certain locations. All of them will have about 6 to 7 parts of that quest chain and then provide the teal ring that follows. These are pretty solid rings just because they have quite focused stats and they provide a primary essence slot that you can equip a flickering or humble essence into at the moment. So they will be one of your primary sources of rings. Again, they're definitely something that happens in landscapes. You might have to hunt down the quest, but certainly something that you should kind of focus in on when you find that main quest that kind of takes you throughout this. To be clear, these are quest chains that exist on the landscape themselves. They're not the story-based quest that you might be coming across through chapters or volumes or anything like that. All right, guys. So the very last thing that we're going to go over is the pocket items, specifically, just because they are kind of specific here. While you can get some through crafting, landscape, or embers, I want to recommend definitely working your way through the reputations of the landscape to getting to the max kindred that you're kind of looking for. Each location has a pocket item that you would probably be interested in. For example, the Kintai location over here with the elves has the Emerald Wood token. It's the outgoing healing one. The one that I have on my person for DPS is the Obsidian Axe Head. It's going to be from Ansharu at Jaret Manesh. And then the Golden Lion Pummel that I have also for tanking is going to be for Hanmat Renewed. There's also one in the city of Zajana that is more tactically based. It's a scroll case that has tactical focused, tactical mastery, and crit rating. So if you're more of a tactical DPS, definitely want to be getting the Kindred for that area instead. But ultimately, getting the max reputation of the one that you're looking for is what I'd recommend, just simply because these are very high item level, very high stat focused pocket pieces that will certainly boost up the character far more than any crafted or landscape or even embers piece of pocket would get you. The one thing I would recommend is going, if you don't have the time to grind one, or if you don't have the capability, or you just don't have the patience really to do any of this, I would recommend putting all of your resources to Hamat Renewed. The Golden Lion Pummel not only gives good mitigations, but it also gives good critical rating as well. And because of that, it is good on all characters, regardless of what line that you're in. So if you have to choose one of them to kind of start with, Hamat Renewed certainly gets you in the right spot for things. Ultimately, guys, I'm kind of prioritizing the crafted gear when it comes to my alts and such. It's so little resources involved with making something like that, so much so that I even found a Lobby champion out here in the wild. I saw that his earring and his necklace weren't as great as they could have been, so I went out of my way and made some gear for him. Hopefully he's well equipped for the Tier 1 dungeons when they come about here in the next upcoming week here. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully this gives a little bit of insight for what particular pieces of gear that you kind of need going into some of these dungeons. I imagine for a lot of us that have been playing throughout 160, this is kind of general knowledge, but this is also something to kind of, a nice checklist, if you would, to kind of beef up those alts if you have them. I know I have a couple of others that I've been working on the side since we've been waiting on the dungeons here. So hopefully you guys appreciate this. Obviously, when the instances come out, we will be doing some kind of tanking videos regarding those, maybe some entire instance breakdowns. I'm not sure yet. We'll just have to see what's kind of going on. Regardless of what we'll be doing a lot of it on stream. So be sure to check us out here on YouTube and on Twitch. And for everything else LOTRO, be sure to subscribe here so I can kind of update you on that kind of stuff. So hope to catch you later on and hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Catch you in the next one, guys. Take care.